Panting hard, Fang questioned just how many more there were going to be. He's taken out more than 3.3 billion monsters already, and that number continued to rise as he hacked at the beings in his surroundings. Bits and pieces of enemies flew around, and each encounter stained his blade with their death. He wonders just when the world he was in became that way. One day, a very long time ago, the streets were busy as usual. Just then, people started looking up and pointing to the moon. A big red light swirled around in the sky, and suddenly opened up to reveal a dark void in the center. Just like that, a gate was opened. As the crowd wondered what was happening, someone with a telescope stepped forward. He points the device at the strange gate, and was shocked to find never-before-seen monsters waiting on the other side. Countless numbers were there, entrenched, armed, and ready to attack. Deep within the world of strange beasts was a key that could close the gate. If humans don't find it in time, the Earth is going to be invaded by beings far beyond their military capacity. Eventually, a selected group of extraordinary awakened humans appeared. Their mission was to find the key before the monsters broke through the barrier. They worked in perfect unison, assigning some to deal with the enemies, while others went ahead to retrieve the key before it's too late. The first man finds it nestled in the body of a celestial blue being. Taking it in his hands, he wonders if it'll actually be able to close the gate, endangering the world. As he tries it out, the moon in the real world restores itself for all to see. Now, he rotates it in reverse, and something amazing happens. It's revealed that the key can also open the gate in a controlled state, turning it into a valuable material. With that, the era of the awakened ones arrived, and dozens ventured into gates hoping to get rich. 5 years later, Fang found himself on the edge of a cliff, at the mercy of his own comrades. In the eyes of an awakened human, ordinary people like him are insignificant ants. Pushed over, he crashed to the bottom of the ravine, and when he was about to face his death at the hands of hungry monsters, a familiar face appeared. He was going to be saved. His entire body burned, and he finally got the power he always wanted. However, this was also going to be the power he regrets for the rest of his life. In the advanced dungeon, the Hill of No Return, awakened humans fought against waves of dangerous monsters. While they hacked at the indescribable bodies, Fang opened his mouth in awe of their every move. His fellow logistics members joyfully tell him to stop dozing, as it's time to do their job. Not having a lot of time, they have to move fast and efficiently. As a backup member, the young man enjoyed his job. Awakened ones kill as many monsters as possible before the gate disappears, and his role is to supply their needs and collect materials from the slain beasts. Although they clear the path ahead, anything unfortunately slipping through the group would be dangerous. Most of the people he's with are low-leveled, mixed with a handful of ordinary people like him. If he didn't need the money to pay for Jinyu's hospital bills, he wouldn't take such risks. Fang hurriedly brings a bunch of water bottles over to a tired fighter, who complains about the porter not even washing his innard-covered hands. While he ignored it and continued to try to help, others started to air their frustration as well. The innocent young man offers some water to Kuna, who glared at him with deadly eyes filled with hate. Just then, the bottles drop to the floor, as he's kicked in the face for the mistake of approaching the leader. The violent man wasn't done, and he tells his lackeys to beat and kill the logistics member. They do as told, laying punches and planting hits all over his body. Fang was on the floor, trembling in pain without an idea of why they were hurting him. Kuna stomps on his head, driving it to the ground and punishing him for daring to ask such a stupid question. They spend some time assaulting him and, eventually, drag his limp and weak body over to the edge of the cliff. Still confused, Fang again asks why they were doing that to him in the first place. Holding him above the deadly ravine, Kuna mockingly laughs at his question, thinking he still dares to play dumb while facing death. He hatefully stared at the boy, who had the gall to suggest that he made a mistake, saying it'd ruin his reputation if word of his actions got out. He lets go of the powerless porter. Fang plummeted, screaming and begging them to save him. Even in death, he's like a coward, and they wonder what Wan Yu sees in someone like him. To keep him there, they destroy the key and close the dungeon. The ordinary human crashes to the bottom of the cliff and is somehow still alive. However, it seems that won't be the case for long, as an enormous monster stood over him. He tries to escape, but his body just wouldn't follow his commands. The beast steps on him, breaking nearly every bone he has. It lunged to devour him whole, but the impact didn't come. Opening his eyes, he sees another monster fighting the one that almost took his life. Unfortunately, that isn't going to bring him any luck, so he starts running, filled with adrenaline. He could barely move with all the injuries he had, and a round being was already closing in. The fact that even such a small creature was going after him annoyed the young man, so he launched a rock at it. It hits the giant eyeball right in the middle, forcing it to screech in pain and reveal its true form. It was bad. Standing in front of Fang was the legendary tentacle monster mutation. An appendage shot towards him, and one hit sent him crashing into the cliff wall. With his chest gaping open, death was only moments away. As he thought about how impossible it now was for him to return home, his broken pendant bounced and rolled away. It opened up to show a photo of Jinyu, smiling so beautifully. Hopelessly reaching out, he apologizes to her. He promised to earn enough money and bring her to the best doctor for treatment. But as things are, there was no way for him to achieve that. He wept in agony and continuously begged for forgiveness. From the puddle of his own tears, a bright light began to shine. The monsters were confused at first, but they're suddenly blasted to pieces as a blinding tower of power shot up from his body and tore through the sky. Opening his eyes, Fang sees an angel-like being flying above him with her warmth. The Holy One smiled at him and was asked if she'd like to transfer the divine angel talent unto him. With her approval, the gifting progressed, and she touched a small spot on his forehead. This burns with her power and connects to her chest. The woman tells him to take her talent and live well. While the angel disappears, the divine circle she had then appeared above his head. More than that, the same ivory white wings sprouted and spread from his back. Finally, a holy sword materialized in his hand, and his entire body started to burn with a newfound and unbelievable power. His war cry attracts the attention of the monsters nearby, but unlike before, they're no match for him now. A quick swing sends a devastating blast of energy at the beasts, cutting them apart without a hint of resistance. As he continues his assault, it's like a fireworks show of monster bodies. Just then, the system tells the newly awakened one to adapt to the talent. However, he rejected the angel-like qualities. Continued his massacre of monsters, he went straight for the legendary tentacle mutation, leaving a path of carnage behind him. Their weapons clashed and the system alerted again, saying he's approached the talent lower limit. He blocks the enemy's energy blast with his barrier. As an ordinary person, every awakened one in the real world looked down on him. Sensing his heart of hatred, the system deems him incompatible to the talent's divine nature. Fang continues airing his grievances, including the monsters relentlessly coming after him. The system starts to collapse, and this only happens faster as vows to kill each and every one of them. Finally, the talent crashes and reboots. As he defended against an attack, driving his holy sword into the enemy's hand, the weapon shook and darkness started to consume the blade. Soon enough, the gold and divine power coming from within him shattered and was completely replaced with a sinister energy. Again, he vowed to destroy them all. The tentacle mutation sensed the hostility and attacked, aiming right at his unmoving body. However, Fang just screamed at it, ordering it and all others to come. His talent mutates. With the golden wings gone, a blue hellfire engulfed his entire body. The monster's tentacles struck, but none were able to make contact, and instead burst apart as soon as they came close. Even the enemy was shocked by the unexpected development. It roared in anger, but a steel-covered set of feet just marched toward it. Fang had awakened a new talent, the Undead Angel, and was clad in blue armor. He points his stained blade at the enemy, and gives it one chance to call all its fellow monsters there. Realizing it was outmatched, the mutation turned tail to do as told, and released an ear-piercing screech to call forth an entire horde of creatures. Their silhouettes covered the sky, but they were nothing but lowly insects to his newfound power. He jumps up to meet the airborne enemies, and raises his blade with an expression more demonic than theirs. A few swift slashes, imperceptible to a normal eye, is enough to take everything down in an instant. With the small fry taken care of, he moves on and leaps to the tentacle mutation, which tries to back away in fear. However, there was no way he's letting it go so easily. The undead angel drives his blade through its eye and into its body. Just then, a different bunch of enemies appeared. Fang seems satisfied with the bee swarm, as it's the first time he's seen so many in one place. It doesn't make a difference to him though, as everything intending to harm him, no matter what they are, must die. A snap of his fingers is enough to make that happen. His awakening is still in progress, and one can only imagine how strong he'll become. Fang extends his palm and tries to collect the monsters. He spends a long time doing this, but his massacre has left so many monster bodies to deal with. With that, the crystal's awakened ones are so hungry for are everywhere. Mimicking them, he takes one and tries to absorb its energy, but the system says he's unable to absorb it. This confuses him so much that he undoes his armor. The spiritual energy inside the crystals is the main method fighters can enhance their talents. He's already awakened, so why couldn't he do the same and absorb like they do? Several tries lead to failure, but he feels something else entering his body, something not the crystal. Finally, he realizes that it's the death spirits from the monster corpses around him. If the death aura is what he needs to become stronger, then he doesn't need crystals anymore. Just killing everything around him would be enough to bring him to greater heights. After figuring this out, he immediately rushed back to the top of the cliff. Now, it'll be easy for him to take revenge on Kuna. However, he's greeted by nothing but emptiness when he reaches the forest above. He sees the broken key that's meant to trap him in there for eternity. Enraged and determined to get revenge, he crushes the key. Until he can think of a way to escape, all he can do is improve his own power. In the first year of being trapped in the dungeon, he killed almost 200,000 monsters. Tearing their bodies apart, he learned to consume them safely, and remembered something that might be his ticket out. A year ago, he was reading a monster guide with Jinyu. A being called Seraphis, the Unsealer, was growing quite popular in the community. It lives in an endless sea, and when the gate restarts, it will appear with the key. Generally, the world within the gate restarts when all the monsters inside it are slain. If it's just like she said, killing all the monsters there is the only way for him to get back. In the next year, he eliminated nearly 400,000 monsters. In the third year, 1.5 million beasts were taken down. He was tired and longed to return to the real world. It felt like clearing the entire dungeon of monsters was going to be impossible. Nonetheless, he moves on and finds himself facing a literal sea of monsters. The endless stream of enemies, before all originated from that point. As if sensing his presence and greeting him, something massive emerged from the water. In the past 10 years, the level of the creatures has skyrocketed, and he's now fighting S-rank enemies. He charged in fearlessly, knowing he had no choice but to win. The first clash sends him back to the hard ground. If he isn't careful, then he actually might die this time. He disappeared in a flash of light, and was suddenly holding his blade right by the enemy's gaping mouth. Just like that, the S-class opponent falls. Fang panted from injuries on top of exhaustion. There was a huge hole on his body, and sometimes he considered just accepting the embrace of death. This thought came even now as he faced another horde of monsters. However, he just can't forget Kuna's face when he betrayed him, and he can't stop thinking about Jinyu who must be waiting for him. With that in mind, he was determined to kill all the monsters and capture Seraphis. After all, he had to get out of there no matter how long it takes. 20 years passed, and a mystical tree stood under the dark blue sky. Among its branches hid Fang, who didn't even kill a single monster that year. The only thing left in the dungeon is the griffin, which he has to ambush to catch. Preying on the perfect opportunity, he leapt above the unsuspecting target. He does so well and cuts through its neck, tearing the flesh open to reveal the bone. However, the open wound quickly closed up, and the bird turned to retaliate against the human. He couldn't kill it for an entire year, and has been a pain in his mind. Fang fights back to blind the final enemy and deal a powerful blow. Not willing to be defeated so easily, it unleashes a massive attack that stretches across the sky. He's faced this before, and knows exactly how frustrating it's going to be. For the entire year, he's been tormented by this exact move, hindering him from finally achieving his goal. It was extremely fast and was gradually closing the distance. About to get hit, he turns around and summons a defensive ability to block the attacks. The griffin chuckled and spoke, saying it was waiting for him to do exactly that. Just then, the monster's ability appeared behind him and hit him squarely at the back, sending him flying high into the sky. As an opponent, the griffin is among the few to satisfy him. The monster's magic attacks, speed, and strength are almost unbeatable, and it's the only Super S-class monster he's ever encountered. He's told to become its slave, if he wants his life to be spared. Another barrage of attacks appeared above him, ready to strike. It's truly a high-level monster, capable of even interrogating a human. With that said, considering Fang a human at this point might be a mistake. Seeing him crack jokes, even while facing death, the Super S-rank beast unleashes its attack, all of which hit the target directly. However, he was fine. When he almost died just now, the black wave in him was triggered, and for a short period of time, all damage against him will be ineffective. Additionally, he's able to deal injuries that prevent all monsters from self-healing. Saying it shouldn't have given him a chance to catch his breath, Fang leaps in to kill the enemy once and for all. The undead neck slash hits its target, rending its body and the massive mountains behind it. With this, the final monster in the dungeon has been taken down, and the gate's restart immediately began. The clouds in the sky split apart and opened up. He knew immediately that this is where his coveted being was going to come from. As he expected, the Seraphis descended, plump and almost like a baby as it gently lay down. Reacting right away, he leapt towards the bearer of the key, summoning the undead wings around his back. The being he spent 2 decades seeking was now just inches away from his body. Placing his hand on it, he feels himself sink in slowly. Even the Seraphis was surprised by what was happening, so he told it not to move and give the key to him already. He repeated this again and again, already having spent decades waiting. Just then, the celestial being's form morphed and moved like ribbons, flexibly twisting and turning. Soon enough, it completes its transformation and becomes the holder of the key. At long last, Fang obtains the power to return to his old world after 2 decades. An enormous beam of light shot down from the sky and wrecked a barren land. At the crater left by the impact was Fang, who looks out and wonders if he had finally returned to the real world. Given how empty the space was, it's as if he was still in a dungeon without people. Just then, a creature attacked him from behind. The ambush is surprising enough to wound him, so lashes out in anger, recalling that he already wiped all the monsters out. A single punch sends it crashing into the ground. Finally taking a good look at it, he sees that it's actually just an ordinary wild boar. Defeating S-rank beings was an everyday thing to him, but now a boar posed difficulty. It seems he exhausted all his death aura when he was resisting the collapse of the dungeon. Now, he's just an ordinary low-ranked awakened one. He finds an abandoned cabin used by hunters and enters hoping to find something to eat. Calling out to whoever might be there, he slowly opened the door and peered in. Placed neatly on the floor was a bunch of bones, still having traces of human flesh. Fortunately, this supplies him with some clothing that's surprisingly fashionable for hunters. What's more, he finds a map that might still be usable despite the time that has passed. He moves out with the little supplies he's found, leaving a magic crystal as some sort of payment for the items. Fang reaches the city in no time, and is surrounded by people like nothing happened. The hospital Jinyu was left in should be nearby, and he'll finally see her again. Just then, someone hands him a flyer, and asks for support for the wild souls. He nasty sight greets him as he sees Kuna's face on the piece of paper. To make things worse, a loudspeaker makes an announcement, flashing the same face on a screen as high as a skyscraper, and introducing him as the captain of the Wild Souls Guild. Despite his youth, he can kill S-rank monsters alone, and has donated several keys to society. Ending the advertisement, the audience is encouraged to join the guild right away. The entire thing enrages Fang, who crumpled the flyer and threw it into the trash can. He quickly reaches the hospital, and notes that nothing much has changed since he was last there. A loud voice calls to a priest, asking him to save her son, as she's worked so long without pay. However, the man of God insults her salary, and says it's far from enough for the medical fees. Without a hint of mercy, he pushes the old woman aside. Fang catches her and asks if he's okay, but as soon as she sees his face, she recognizes him in spite of the decades that passed. He also recognizes her as Jangi, the aide who took care of Jinyu all those years. Falling into tears, she asks why he came after so long, and regrettably lets him know that Jinyu has already passed, unable to wait for him. The news hits his heart like a truck, and she later brings him to the girl's grave. It happened 20 years ago, right around the time he went into the dungeon. Her body suddenly started convulsing, and 2 mid-rank priests weren't enough to save her. With no one to take her, Jangi bought a grave, so she could have a resting place. Still in tears, he thanks the old care provider for all she's done for them. As compensation for Jinyu's burial fees, he hands her a single magic crystal. Her eyes grew wide in shock upon seeing the S-rank monster core, and tried to decline. However, he just gently places it on her palm. He heard her conversation with the priest, and says it'll be more than enough for her son. With that settled, he asks her to leave first, as he'd like to spend some time with Jinyu. The young man crouched in front of the grave, and cried as he took a pile of S-rank cores from his pockets. He painstakingly collected them all, making sure he had enough to pay for her bills and give her all she could want. Now that she's no longer there, they were all useless and nothing but pieces of rock on the ground. While the grieving young man apologized endlessly, the death aura from the cemetery all flowed into his body. An aircraft flew above as he wept, and interrupted his moment by blaring another announcement. Hearing Kuna's name enough times for the day, Fang's grief was momentarily replaced with pure rage towards the man who trapped him, so he shoots a wave of dark energy that rips the aircraft in half. Surprisingly, Kuna was nearby enough to see it unfold when this happened. The hunters, worried about the threat to their head, moved to investigate immediately. Meanwhile, back in the cemetery, Fang was able to recover nearly half his strength, thanks to the amount of death aura. Fang's ID is still accepted by the Missions and Communications Center's security system. The place was as busy as ever. People who come there are usually ones who don't want to conform to the guild, and the outsourced supporters who don't get paid by them. just like him before. He sees the place in a different light, returning after 20 long years have passed. Kuna must believe that he's already long gone, so that means that before his big reveal, he has to do his best to keep a low profile. He witnesses a man named Kengo complaining about a buyer who's taking too much time. The merchant bargains, saying his goods aren't worth much without a core. As their argument escalates, Fang takes it upon himself to intrude. He's seen a lot of such amphibious monsters in the dungeon, and knows where their cores are. In order to move their tentacles, the magic crystals often grow in their claws, so he breaks them apart and hands the goods over to the owner, who's elated by the unexpected score. He's surprisingly nice and offers Fang a small cut, but the boy declines with another favor to ask. Having heard about his plan to enter a dungeon, he asks to join. People normally prefer money, but since he's different, Kengo asks about his purpose. He lies about conducting a study and needing to see monsters for that very purpose. Asked for his talent, he says he doesn't have one, but promises to take over support duties. A sickly-looking member, Alex, scoffs at his words and says that trash without talent are better off getting a part-time job at the guild. The leader asks not to mind him, as small groups such as theirs can't afford to have ordinary people. Even if there's just one, they would normally drag the entire group down and risk their lives. Ignoring them completely, Fang looks at the arrogant man's wound and asks what happened for his arm to be that way. He participated in an entrance test to a guild and got hurt after overestimating himself. Alex scowls at the leader's blatantly insulting words. The newcomer notes that it also has a potent poison that needs costly treatment, so he mocks him for speaking like he knows how to heal it. Smiling and knowing full well that he can, Fang asks the merchant for a piece of a monster's claw. He tells Alex to chew on it and swallow, and he's surprisingly obedient. Making him do that is only a cover, so he doesn't notice the young man heal the injury himself. The poison is removed in a matter of moments, much to their delight. Even Kengo is impressed by his knowledge, so much so that he allows him into the party. Just to be safe, they aim to find another guy with a talent before entering the dungeon. Meanwhile, another person notices Fang, more specifically the jacket he was wearing. He calls a certain big boss, and while he hasn't found his son, he's discovered important information. The smell coming from a certain man's jacket was most definitely from his son. To be more accurate, it's the smell of his son's corpse. He's told to follow the target closely and continue to relay important updates. Following those orders, Mugo approaches the group and asks if they're looking for another member. He shares that his talent is enhanced senses and is a great archer on top of that. As it's good enough for the captain, Kengo fills their party of 5 and summons his sword from his belt to finally enter the dungeon. Fang is confused by the count, seeing as there are only 4 of them. In the small forest later on, they regroup with another hunter. Moxia always arrives first, mainly as she doesn't like places with many people. She's the 5th member, but despite her disguise, the young man was certain that she's actually a monster pretending to be a human. Even the archer with heightened senses doesn't notice her secret, but nothing can get past Fang's experience from decades of killing monsters. With that said, he doesn't sense even a hint of killing intent from the girl. Kengo holds a key and asks if everyone is ready to start. It's a crownless one, meaning there won't be any difficult monsters inside the dungeon. The party opens the gate and enters with the captain joyfully leading the way. While Fang wonders if they're really following an undercover monster inside, Alex advises him not to throw away his life, since he saved his. He tells the mage to shut up, mixing in just enough killing intent to make him whimper. The mage scowls and says he doesn't know what's good for him, but Fang insists that there's nothing good to get from backing out, now that they're there. He goes in last, and the gate closes behind him. Just like that, he's back in a dungeon. The other side of the gate was a volcanic land, but Kengo calmly gives everyone a rundown of things to look out for. Monsters won't be too dangerous, but the high temperature and toxicity in the air are lethal. For this mission, they'll mainly fight magma hounds as their cores and small horns are valuable. Since he's a good melee fighter, he'll pair up with their trusty mage. Meanwhile, Moxia, who's a controller, will team up with the new archer. Lastly, Fang is a non-fighter and will focus on collecting the cores and horns. Right as they finish talking, the monsters come to the hunters all on their own. With 10 hours on the clock, everyone quickly sprang into action. The magma hounds snarled and approached, hissing with heat as they opened their mouths to reveal the eye inside. Kengo jumped in preemptively and immediately cut a target apart. He sends the shattered rocks to Alex, who faces them bravely and provides support by turning the shrapnel into a powerful flurry of sharp icicles. These tear through the other monsters who don't even stand a chance. Oddly boastful, the mage tells the porter to start collecting the materials. Fang does as told and calmly takes bits and pieces out of the monster corpses. He tells himself to endure the situation for just a little while. As he's let his guard down, a couple of beasts manage to get behind him, but all he has to do is release a bit of his aura to make them scamper away in fear. Meanwhile, Mugo was silently trailing behind the active Moxia. He was supposed to be stalking his target, but was not stuck with someone else. The two find themselves surrounded by enemies, and it happened the moment they let themselves get distracted. The girl tells him not to panic and wait for her signal instead. Using her power, controlling waves are released from her head, and the hounds respond by opening their mouths, leaving their vulnerable eyes wide open. As soon as Mugo is given the signal, he scans the area, taking note of all the enemies and the exact angles he has to shoot. A single arrow is notched, and the release leaves a powerful gust of wind. It shoots through the first target, but instead of stopping, it continues to the next, turning and curving as to precisely hit all the mutts there. The archer shoots another to pick up the pace. With the job done, he retrieves the arrow that zooms right into his hand. Meanwhile, the other pair were having a contest over who could slay more enemies. Fang's expression wasn't the least bit excited or worried. The level of the enemies are so low that he'd be lucky to recover a 1% of his power after 10 hours. Alex continues to gloat and mock him during the fight. He shoots an ice beam at another enemy, but it withstands the attack and tries to continue fighting. It revealed its eye, which brimmed with odd power. Fang realized what was happening. He tells the mage to stop using magic and leave it to the captain with the big sword, but the arrogant hunter refused to take orders, even from the one who saved his life. A torrent of ice magic is shot at the injured hound. It hits the target and freezes its entire body. However, failing to kill a beast in one hit risks having it evolve, and magic only speeds the process up. As expected, a stronger being broke through the frozen shell. The demonic appearance was enough to send a shiver down the ice mage's spine. It's something he's never seen before, and death might actually come today. Refusing to give in, he convinces himself to keep attacking until it's dead. A huge glacial spear is shot at the monster, but the thick ice breaks upon contact, failing to deal any sort of damage. It just serves to irk the evolved hound, which retaliates by unleashing a wave of lava at its enemy. It isn't part of the plan, but Fang realizes that he has to step in if he doesn't want them to die. A mysterious energy drags Alex to the sky against his will, but saves him from the lava. The sight is so novel that Kengo wonders how and when he awakened flying magic. Landing right in front of him, the mage suggests running, as the enemy was out of their league. He's asked how his salary is going to be paid if they leave without any loot. The determined captain orders Moxia to control it, so she obediently leapt into action. Unfortunately, the gap between their powers are way too wide for her to do so. Alex again tries to convince everyone to fall back, even saying that they can forget about his payment. However, his body suddenly flew up, once more carried by Fang's power. The mage has been granted wings that brought him right by the beast's mouth. He begs them not to bring him any closer, but the undead angel had no plans of granting his pleas. Alex was right above the evolved hound's demonic and sizzling mouth. It spews a torrent of lava that he just barely dodges along with death. As it prepares another attack, Fang recognizes his chance to strike while it's on cooldown. A little flick of his finger makes the mage's arm reach for a small wooden dagger. To his surprise, a sharp black blade materializes from the energy. He screams in shock as he feels the weight of the weapon on his arm. Unable to hold it up, the tip points down and he plummets along with it. The hound is cut in half like butter, while the sheer force of the drop also tears the land behind the target, even splitting a nearby mountain in half. Fang notes that it's impossible to manage the output while controlling someone with death aura. Meanwhile, Alex was still breathing hard from the seemingly out-of-body experience. The wreckage in front of him was so massive that he doubted if he actually did it. On the other hand, Kengo was just elated that he had something else up his sleeve. Not wanting to let it go, the mage gives a shallow explanation of acceptance and surprises Fang by actually taking credit for the achievement. Since they finished the 10-hour mission in 3 hours, Mugo asks for the next order. Actually, Kengo has been thinking about doing something. The reason he got the key cheap was apparently because a lot of people died there. There's an unexplored cave deeper in, and nobody has come back after trying to explore it. However, if Alex can kill B-rank monsters, then there shouldn't be a problem with checking it out. Before the mage could decline, Fang uses his power to force him into a quick nod of approval. Just like that, they ventured into the dangerous and ominous cave. A faint light by the entrance was enough to show just how risky the inside was. Since the paths are complex, Kengo tells everyone to follow his lead closely. However, he surprisingly finds nobody behind him, so the supposedly brave leader clung to the mage, thinking he can defeat every enemy there. On the other hand, Fang has wandered off all on his own. Monsters that live in caves usually wait until humans enter, then seal the entrance behind them. In other words, they're probably waiting to ambush the party on the side paths. He ventured deeper in, all while Mugo stalked him from behind. If he wanted to question the target alone, now would be the perfect time. Just then, the young man sees a group of magma hounds that have already evolved multiplied times. The archer panicked, knowing that such a horde would kill even B-ranked awakened ones. To his shock and awe, the powerful monsters are cut apart in the blink of an eye. He sees the supposedly powerless porter ripping them apart. Most couldn't even fight back, as their bodies were destroyed before they could even see him coming. Unfortunately for them, they're just what Fang needs to regain his expended death aura. After a while of moving deeper into the cave, Fang finally finds an enemy that's interesting enough for him. A quick swipe of his hand redirects its first attack, but the monster shoots a massive torrent of lava to compensate. Pushing his hand out, the undead angel summons a black orb of pure death aura. It's strong enough to completely negate the lava blast without resistance. He asks if it's all the monster has to offer, and if it's looking down on him. As punishment, he hurls the dark orb at the enemy, and uses it to crush its entire body into nothingness. The force pushes against its hard body, but also sends quakes throughout the cave's walls. While the other hunters wondered what's happening, the attack broke through the cave and shot into the outside. There, the corpse of the strongest monster rests being drained of its death aura. Fang flew above it, taking all the power to restore his own. Meanwhile, Mugo stared in shock and disbelief at how outmatched he was by the target. The young man suddenly turned upon sensing a presence. Realizing that he's been seen, the archer desperately ducked down to hide himself, but the undead angel was already speeding towards his target. In the blink of an eye, he was above Mugo and looked like the embodiment of death. To his surprise, he moves right past him and drives his hand into the ground, saying such tricks won't get to him. His hand was already around Moksha's neck, but seeing as she already had a dagger prepared to fight back, he knocked some sense into her and took her weapon away. Her neck is nearly crushed by his grip, which also forces her to shed her human disguise. She backed away as he confirmed that she really is a monster in hiding, but he was relentless and demanded to know why she was following him. She recounts the day in the cemetery, when he blew Kuna's aircraft up. As fate would have it, she was there to witness his outburst, and she coincidentally shares his desire to kill the guild leader as well. Adding that the archer is listening from behind him, she asks if he'd like her to continue her explanation. He ponders over it for a moment and decides to let her live for now, but leaves in order to pretend they never saw each other. Mugo was already running as he felt the demonic man approach. Fang didn't go after him, and instead bent down. Moxia puts her disguise back on and asks what he's doing, so he says that he's just doing his job in collecting the magic stones. 5 hours later, the party regroups, and Kengo obliviously thinks that nothing bad happened. He asks Fang if he saw anything weird, but the porter also feigns ignorance. The peace in the Forest of Dimension is interrupted as they open the gate to return. Not wasting a single moment, the leader immediately asks to check the loot. He regrets taking a powerless human as he's handed a shallow handful, but quickly changes his stance as Fang reaches into his pocket and gives him an entire pile of cores. With another pile from his other pocket, the captain's tune changes completely. Refusing an invitation to a free drink, the young man goes ahead on his own. While the others left as well, Mugo urgently dialed a call into his phone. He says he can't deal with the target alone, and will need 3 skilled hunters to help him. Bummed that he wasn't able to collect a lot of death aura, Fang aims for a stronger dungeon. Just then, a golden gauntlet sped towards his face. It's heavy enough to push him back, but he fortunately jumps back and defends in time. A death aura-infused attack was already blocking his path, so he shot a beam to shatter it. However, he's confused to find that his spell was completely negated. It's as if the abilities are specifically designed to work against his own. In front of him, the 3 unfamiliar attackers appeared from the shadows. Mugo trails from behind, saying he brought some experts after the surprise in the cave. Assuring that he won't kill him and will only break his limbs, the archer launches his arrow. An intense battle erupted in the calm forest. Fang watched calmly and silently as an arrow sped towards him. While this was happening, another enemy began his incantation. The projectile disappeared, but a huge magic circle emerged from under his feet. With this, the mage calls on the missing weapon, and countless arrows suddenly appear to shoot at the target from the ground. They're shocked as he dodges each and every one without even getting nicked, but Mugo refuses to give up and launches a special attack. Although it's caught without any problems, Fang doesn't see the attachment right away. Chucking, the archer presses a detonator, causing magnesium oxide made specifically for him to explode. He was fully blinded. When he regained his sight, a couple of giant skeleton hands already had him in their grasp. They're actually quite impressed that he was able to hold out against them for so long. The brawler is told not to hit too hard, as they have to keep him alive. He says there's no need to worry about him dying. Unfortunately, he can't promise that the target will be able to speak after the beating he deals with his gauntlets. Fang lets a whisper of death aura escape his mouth, but it's more than enough to deal with the enemy in front of him. The man fell to the ground, his arm sliced into pieces. Breaking through the skeleton hands next was easy enough, and while the girl controlling them was surprised by the sudden escape, she raised her palms in an attempt to capture him again. He meets her hands with his own, insulted that she'd think to challenge him with such little power. Feeling mocked, he kicks her in the gut, and knocks the wind out of her in an instant. Meanwhile, the mage uses another spell and summons an arrow to shoot from behind him. Not missing it and already refusing to deal with any more of his petty tricks, Fang attacks the cowardly man directly. Just like that, the three elites have been dealt with, but Mugo was still shooting weak arrows at him. Brushing it off, the undead angel walked up to him and grabbed his bow. With nothing but sheer physicality, he snaps the 400-pound bow in half without even blinking. Then pinching the archer's ear, Fang lifts him up and demands to know who sent him. If it's Kuna, it means his identity has been exposed, and he needs to kill everyone there. Mugo asks if he realizes whose clothes he's wearing. He accuses him of killing the boss's son, and playing dumb despite that. The reality hits, and he's annoyed that taking a random jacket was causing problems. He flicks the lackey away, and tells him to bring him to his boss. Just like that, a lavish and expensive car drove through the night, after having picked the two of them up. Mugo tells Lolu that he brought the target back, regardless of the circumstances, and asks to be paid. The manager orders him to shut up, as they've been told to stay quiet until they reach the manor. Afraid, the underling does as told. The car reached an enormous estate and passed through its gates. The exit shuts as soon as they enter, and they're brought to a red carpet leading to an iron throne. There, Zack sat, dark and expectant of his visitors. As pathetic as ever, Mugo praises him in an attempt to curry favor, but is asked if he was told to speak a word. With the rat silenced once more, the boss turns to the only one he wants to talk to. Fang smiled and greeted the head of the estate, and was asked if he knew why he was brought there directly. The old man hired 5 mages of the controlling type to set up an anti-talent domain. After all, the target might not have entered if he sensed it even a tiny bit. It's true, and even the undead angel can't use his powers at all. Given the surroundings, he realizes that there's something more to it, and that the throne Zack was on is likely enhancing the domain's power. This is to ensure that he can't use a talent anywhere near him. Mugo gloats again, saying he must be shocked by the measures they took. Mugo used his powers to text the boss, and share how they can pin the death aura user. Zack stood from his throne and stared the young man down, but Fang didn't even blink. He's told to answer honestly, and is asked who sent him to kill his son. The hunter says he didn't kill anyone and starts to explain, but the archer aims his bow at him, infuriated that he still dared to lie. Sick of him, the angle of death turned in an instant and started beating the pesky man, who cried over his broken arm. He ultimately caused the misunderstanding, and Fang was done understanding someone so obnoxious. When he's done crushing the annoying insect, a bunch of red dots appear throughout his body. While snipers aimed at him, Zack again asks who sent him to kill his son. Feeling bad for him, the young man still tries to clear the misunderstanding up. He pleads and insists that he only picked the clothing up randomly, but the old man, believing he's shamelessly lying, is insulted and steps on his head. Stomping harder, he tells the snipers to fire at everything except for where he's stepping. Unfortunately for him, Fang has finally reached his limit, particularly as he's reminded of how Kuna belittled and oppressed him before. Disregarding the snipers, he pushes the old man's foot off first, and then sends streaks of his death aura to follow the lasers pointed at him. He trails each and everyone, even passing through the supposedly impassable barrier. His power wrapped around their guns, and soon broke through the entire barrier and took control over their bodies. In the blink of an eye, everyone who was aiming from afar was suddenly in the air, all pulled toward him. As bodies fell to the courtyard, Fang demanded that they hear his explanation first. The snipers were meant to double security, but their scopes ended up being used to penetrate the barrier. Realizing that he was outmatched, Zack finally decides to listen. The hunter undoes his power and takes the jacket in question off. Folding it neatly, he says he'll gladly return the article of clothing, and shares that he found it in a hunter's hut. A familiar face jotted up with the mention of the location. Alex recalls the poison on his arm when they first met and says he got it there. He's supposed to be grabbing a drink with the others right now, but with Kengo down after one drink, he had to find another job to earn money. He tries to get off the hook, saying he's only there to cool the guns and didn't try to kill him. Mugo somehow gets up despite the beating he took and mentions a Shuhai hunter. Alex confirms it, saying the man in question commits cannibalism and even bit him. Hearing about this certain trait, Fang can't help but note the entire skeleton he saw in the hut, which he thought was just a prop. Now that he thinks about it, it likely belongs to the missing son. With this, Lolu is told to immediately arrange a helicopter to the location they're describing. The trip doesn't take too long, and they find themselves in the middle of the woods in no time. They enter the hut together. Mugo held the skeleton, confirming that its scent resembles the young master's. Piling evidence after evidence, he concludes that it is, in fact, the remains of the boss's son. Before he could continue, Zack erupted in tears and wept as he held his dead son. He asks why he didn't listen to him and acted so stubbornly. Back then, the boy, weaning his jacket, excitedly boasted of his awakened powers. The old man insisted that it'd be better for him to learn about the family trade. However, he was insistent on becoming an esteemed hunter, as it's the only way to impress his father. With this, he turned away to leave, excitedly saying that he found a really powerful master to teach him. As it was his first time outside, Lolu offered to secretly follow him back then, but Zack said there was no need, as he needed to learn about the world one way or another. That mistake cost him his son's life, and now he can only swear to avenge him. Demanding to know where the killer was, Mugo explains that it's a member of the mountain gang, which are directly under Kuna's rule. Laying the skeletal remains on the soft sofa, Zack orders the also grieving Lolu to call everyone he can. He's also heartbroken about the boy's death, but clashing with such a guild would wreck their house apart. Additionally, the public favor was on Kuna's side, meaning they would also risk hurting the company's reputation. However, if the big boss insists on war, then he shall go and prepare. Zack cradles his son's remains while crying, intending to take him home. He then swears to exact revenge on his murderer. Meanwhile, Alex contemplates how strange it is that the poison really killed the young master, since it could not even melt the bones and seems to be no more than a C rank to him. However, when he fought the guy, he got wounded just from the man's poison barely scratching his ice armor. Knowing that he was at a disadvantage, he told the guy that he was forfeiting. He remembered that there was a huge difference in skill. Meanwhile, it bothers Fang that most of the rank A monster cores were taken away by the Quan group. Later, the boss remains are being put into a box so they can take him home. Zack then apologizes to Fang for the misunderstanding, stating that he is grieving for his son and thought he was his murderer. He offers to compensate him for the trouble he caused, and Fang replies that he needs a jacket, one that can completely cover his face. Later, Fang is seen entering the Quan group headquarters. The other warriors try to stop him, but he is too strong for them and slays them in an instant. The other members follow, blaming him for his impending death, since he barged into hell himself. However, like the others, they are easily defeated. One of them begs for his life, and Fang orders him to bring the Shuhai hunter. The member immediately follows his request and is about to fetch the Shuhai hunter, but to Fang's surprise, the member is murdered in front of him. The Shuhai hunter, Goldo, appears along with two A-rank members. Fang warns the two to back off since he is there for the Shuhai hunter only. The A-rankers plan on taking him down and finishing him as soon as possible to show him the difference in their power. Fang quietly affirms that it is a good decision to go there by himself since he can collect spirit energy. The two A-rankers then leap toward him and attack, but he easily dodges them. Not wanting to waste his time on them, he finishes them off, not giving them a chance to get serious. Just then, Goldo strikes him with his poison, but he evades it just in time. He mocks the man for playing childish tricks on him. This infuriates the Shuhai hunter even more, and he sends more poison toward him. Fang manages to dodge and send it back to Goldo, injuring his face. He then grabs Goldo's face and subdues him. Enraged, the Shuhai hunter transforms into his real beast form, a serpent, and tries to sting Fang, but Fang is faster and stabs him with his blade. He tells Goldo that he should not have been so greedy and tried to absorb spirit energy from someone out of his league. Goldo is ultimately defeated. Just then, another member appears and thanks him for killing Goldo, since Kuna has been insisting on making the guy their deputy. He admits that he was trying to think of ways to eliminate the serpent without offending the guild leader, Kuna. He offers Fang a place on his team without even taking a test. Fang remembers him from before when he was always with Kuna, The man, Taka, is shocked that Fang knows him. Triggered, Fang attacks him in one swift move. The man activates his firepower just in time and dodges the attack. He comments that Fang managed to remove his clothes quickly to avoid further burning. Fang is taken aback that his opponent is fast on his feet and that he did not even see him move to dodge the attack. Taka mentions that he killed 3 A ranks, which put him in the top 200 of A-ranked adventurers, but he emphasizes that Fang picked the wrong guy to challenge since he is in the top 100. He gives Fang a jab and manages to overpower him. Fang analyzes his moves, thinking that he dodged earlier but still got burned. Taka mocks him, saying that someone like him cannot understand a power like his. With this, he lunges toward Fang, who now has a tile in his hand, and throws it toward his opponent. He uses it as a diversion and attacks Taka using his weapon. Realizing that his opponent is not a fire class after all, he engages the man in combat, which confuses the latter. He delivers successive blows, taking Taka aback. He then asks why he is not setting anything on fire and questions if the quick strikes make him unable to concentrate, and in return, he cannot use his mind to speed up electrons anymore. Taka is shocked that he was able to analyze his ability after observing him for only a few moves. Fang smirks, seeing his opponent flustered by his revelation. Earlier, he noticed that his jacket started burning from the steel zipper. However, when they were in close proximity, his thin clothes only burned very little. Then he burned the tile with such speed, and that was when Fang understood the secret of his skill. He realized that there was metal in the tile and many free electrons inside, allowing the man to heat it quickly. To confirm his suspicion, he used his spirit sword to attack him, and as expected, the man did not burn the sword, which was made of spirit energy, but chose to dodge it instead. In the end, even though he disguised his talent well, Fang figured it out. He adds that mind-class talents become useless if the wielder becomes overwhelmed during a fight. Triggered, the man goes full power, making not only the electrons but other particles speed up. In this way, he can form a heat field hot enough to burn Fang and reduce him to ashes. He activates his power, but Fang is quicker and slices his limbs before he can do so. The man screams in pain as he lies helplessly on the ground. Fang mocks him for not knowing that spirit energy is hollow and does not have particles, making him lose the fight. Taka acknowledges his defeat and begs for his life. However, Fang refuses to let him go and vows to send Kuna down to hell to join him shortly. Just then, the man remembers that Fang was the boy they killed before. As Fang is about to drive the weapon into his chest, he suddenly utters Jinyu's name, making Fang stop. Realizing he might reveal vital information, Taka stabs himself with Fang's sword. He appears to die without saying anything, leaving Fang wondering what it could have been. Meanwhile, the man smiles inwardly. He did not die and only pretended to. He split the particles of his heart to escape death. It has been 20 years, and he is surprised that Fang survived and even grew strong. He tries to reattach his limbs, but in his condition, it will take 10 minutes before he can move normally again. He wants to report this to Kuna immediately and tries to speed up the process. However, Fang activates a spell that collects the corpses of his dead enemies to hide the evidence. He wants to keep a low profile and hopes nobody discovers his identity until he is ready to fight Kuna. Meanwhile, Moxia, in her original form, follows him from behind, thinking he is too reckless and is spoiling her plan. She transforms into a woman wearing a dress. Kuna stands before a huge crab-like monster with extremely long legs. His partner wonders if he is really going to fight such a foe. Kuna says that there is no reason not to, and that he just got ranked A. He then leaps at the beast and slashes its arms. He moves in for the kill, and tells his buddies to record his first ever A-rank kill. Things don't go as planned, though, as he suddenly finds himself trapped in the monster's arms. It then starts squeezing the life out of him. Kuna wonders if he was somehow hypnotized. Down below, his buddies drop their weapons and flee. Helpless, he watches the monster's sharp claw move towards his face. Right before death, he is taken away from his enemy's grasp. An angel has saved him. The monster screams in anger as the angel flies him away. She says he will be treated as soon as they get to safety. He looks at his savior and wonders if he is now in heaven. Just then, the sound of his phone wakes him up from his dream. He takes a look, saying the news better be worth waking him up for. He is so shocked by what he reads that he punches a hole through his female companion. He asks how a person in their house could just disappear, and then says to arrange a press conference in the morning. The next day, Kuna arrives at the press room. He comforts an old couple in front of all the cameras and says he will be their son from now on. His assistant tells some reporters to clear a path to the stage. Kuna sits down and says that regarding what happened to the Mountains Hall, the cause is still being investigated. He begins to get teary-eyed, saying that what really pains him is the loss of so many brothers who fought by his side. To honor them, he will build the ruins of the mountain's hall into a group welfare agency. In addition, he will establish a fund for the family members of the victims. The old couple screams that what they want is justice. Kuna swears to them that no matter how powerful the murderer is, he will destroy them. Zack and Lolu are watching the press conference on TV and agree that Kuna has gained positive public opinion. Zack asks his assistant who he thinks the culprit is. They both then exchange knowing glances, and Lolu leaves to fetch Fang. Sometime later, Fang says he won't go. Lolu says his boss simply wants to thank him for helping him get revenge. Fang tries to deny that it was him, but he is clearly sweating. The assistant then asks if the young man could come out, as we see that he is actually hovering in front of a bridge. Later, Fang is in the car, and Lolu asks if he has been living in the bridge all this time. He also wonders if the young man has any desire to return to his original home. Fang says no, as that place makes him depressed. They soon arrive at the mansion, and Lolu announces that Fang is here. Zack offers the young man some tea to help him calm down. They both take a sip, after which Zack says he went a bit overboard. Fang asks how he knows it was him. The old man replies that the previous day, he noticed a type of look in his eye. That very night, the mountain hall disappeared. No one else could have pulled it off and hidden the evidence this well. Fang replies that he also had his own personal reasons for doing it. Zack then asks him to put his cup down so he can pour him some more tea. He says he knows he has a grudge against Kuna, but he has the support of the masses. If Fang goes against him, he will be the villain. He asks if the young man wants to have enemies everywhere he goes, just like at the gate. This makes Fang wonder how he knows about him. Zack continues speaking, saying that the young man is strong and can kill A ranks. But what about S ranks or even the Gai? Those people will be way harder to deal with. Fang asks if the old man is telling him to stop his quest for revenge. Zack smiles, lights up a cigarette, and says no one is stopping. He assures him that they will get their revenge, adding an expletive to emphasize his point. Zack says that before Fang can continue his revenge, he needs to prepare 3 things: a plan, allies, and money. It just so happens that it has all 3. Fang looks at him and sees that he is right. Zack then asks when he last bathed, since he stinks. He then orders a servant to bring Fang to the shower and to tidy up his son's room. Lolu then enters and says the deal to annex Quangbao is too risky. Zack asks if his assistant thinks the young man looks a bit like his dead son. Lolu thinks for a moment, then says he does see the similarity. He does add that the young master was more handsome. Fang then undresses and steps into the bathroom. He is too lazy to go up and so decides to just wash up here. Suddenly, 2 girls enter and are surprised to see him. One of them has blurred vision and wonders if he is her brother. She then runs and hugs him, believing that her brother is alive. Fang is too surprised to say anything. The maid then gives the young lady her glasses. The young man wonders what is going on. She now sees that he is a different person and screams that there is a gangster. She runs out of the bathroom, while the maid reminds her to get dressed. The servant is about to leave too, but Fang puts a hand on her shoulder and tells her to wait outside. He finishes his shower and wonders what she is doing here. He walks out looking clean. He tells the maid that if she has time for this, why not just kill Kuna? She transforms, and we see that it is actually Moxia. She says strangers who want to go near Kuna all have to be checked. Fang asks what her plan is. She says she will wait for a chance while being in the protection of the big boss. She then morphs back into her maid appearance and says she is done talking to him so as not to arouse suspicion. Later, Zack gives him a jacket and then awkwardly says that he has now met his daughter. Fang says it was an accident before asking for a black jacket. Zack explodes, saying his son also loved wearing black. Lolu then enters and says there is something wrong with the Mountains Group Fund and brings his attention to the top donor. Zack is stunned to see that it is Adel from the Black Dragon Guild. He thinks she is insane and then tosses the tablet back to his assistant. He then heads out and tells Fang that he is coming along. Elsewhere, someone places a mahjong tile on the table. We see some goons having fun gambling. Suddenly, there is a loud crash, and the table, along with all of them, is sent flying about. We see that Zack's car just crashed through the wall as Lolu gets the door to help him out. One of the large goons asks if they have a death wish for messing with the black dragons. He attempts to punch Fang, but the young man easily sends him crashing into the ceiling with an elbow strike. Another one turns his hand into a sort of paper drill and moves in. Fang catches it with his hand and breaks it. He then kicks him in the gut and grabs the snack of his remaining opponent. He readies his fist, then punches the man straight into the ground. Zack tells him to stop, as he is not fighting monsters. He He then tells Lolu to handle all the goons instead since Fang can't control his strength. If someone dies, he will not be able to talk on good terms with Adel. Lolu walks forward and faces a host of opponents. A mist starts to emanate from his feet as he moves forward. Soon, the entire room is filled with a thick fog. Some of the goons wonder what this means. One of them screams at everyone to stay alert. She doesn't realize that an Iron Maiden coffin has materialized behind her. It quickly closes, trapping her inside. Lolu peeks through the opening and says they are here for Adel. She says her boss is inside, as we see that all of the goons have been trapped in their own Iron Maiden. Zack walks forward, and we then see a sickly old man with multiple pieces of medical equipment connected to his body. Chio, the sickly old man leader of the Black Dragon group, asks Zack what he wants. Zack grabs the candle from the nearby Bodhisattva display as he sarcastically praises Chio for being so benevolent and even donating money to charitable foundations. He then lets the wax drop on Chio to torture him. Chio claims that smuggling crystal cores to Kuna's foundations was essential if they wanted to pay all their hundreds of employees and their families. He also said he needed to take that kind of action to broker peace between various guilds. Zack tells him that he will show him mercy if he tells him what Kuna is doing. Chio looks down as he is unable to answer. Zack calls for Lolu to take action, and the lieutenant instantly knows what he needs to do. Lolu kicks Chio's oxygen tank so that it gets pierced with holes. Zack then blocks the old man's inhaler away from his mouth. Zack demands that he tell him what he wants to know immediately. Chio tells him about how he helped Kuna buy an awakened child from the mountains and then place the child into the school that he funds. He goes on to say, as he starts struggling to breathe, that he thought he was grooming the child as his soldier, but then he started accepting normal children too. Zack gives him back his inhaler, and Chio immediately breathes from it. The old man exhales an air of sheer relief. Zack warns him that if he tells anyone about their visit, he will tell Kuna that he told him everything. Zack then calls for his men to leave. Seeing Zack in action makes Fang think he is an amazing boss. Later, Fang is in a bar, sipping alcohol while relaxing. The TVs from the bar show Kuna in a charity event, annoying Fang. He wonders how Kuna became such a big shot just after 20 years. Suddenly, Fang gets dumped with barf. It is revealed that the drunk Kingo just barfed on him. Despite this, the big man still insists to Alex that they continue drinking. Despite his proclamation, he suddenly falls asleep. While he is out, Alex grabs the crystal cores from Kingo's pocket and then offers Fang to buy him drinks as if the money is his. Fang and Alex watch the TV together, where more awakened celebrity ones are being presented at the charity event. Alex sees one of the awakened, and he recognizes and is amazed that he became famous for just one event 10 years ago. Fang gets intrigued and asks what happened 10 years ago. Alex informs him that there was a big incident back then called the Great Wall Watch. Fang replies that he does not know about the incident since he was isolated from the world for 20 years. Fang tries to remember what he was doing back then. He remembers he was back in the dungeon on top of a pile of monster corpses. He made a hamburger out of the meat of the various monsters and ate it for lunch. It made him wish for a life outside the dungeon where he did not need to slaughter anything every time he needed to survive. At the same time, Alex was feeding his old, sickly master Shin. Suddenly, a status alert went up that both Shin and Akui saw. It read that there was danger in the Great Wall, and that all the best awakened must get ready to repel the foreign invaders. The old Shin instantly got up, excited that there would be action. Alex asked his master if they could skip the mission, as it seemed extremely dangerous for someone like him who had just passed the C-rank exam. Shin told him that he was too scared to take action when the Great Wall Watch rang back when he was younger, and it resulted in his parents and siblings being killed. He swore that this time he would take action. Alex saw that the old man was serious, as Shin took out the strongest ice magic wand in the world. Alex decided that it would be safe on the battlefield as long as his master was there to protect him. They went forth to the Great Wall. There, they see many powerful awakened ones gathered. Alex is excited as he sees Fang, the one known as the S-rank, who can kill people without even moving. He also sees Shiba, the one he says is a monster who passed the S-rank test with his bare hands and lost his left hand taking down 3 super S-rank beasts. Shin teases his student for being such a beginner for being starstruck at seeing S-rankers. Shin points in the direction to show Alex who the biggest players are. Alex is surprised to see Zoni, a guy he ranked second only to the country's Vigilia leader. Aside from that, he sees Duro, who is known to have an IQ of 390, and is not ranked as a Gai because he lacks real combat experience. Duro sees Shin and is surprised that he came. Zoni gets to Alex's face and tells him with an intimidating glare that he is too weak to be here. Alex looks at her back with disdain, as he feels like he is being looked down on. Shin speaks for his apprentice and tells Zoni that he will just watch from the sidelines. Alex raises his voice at everyone, assuring them that he is not scared to face the invaders. Duro simply laughs and tells him he is being an ignorant youngster who needs to run if things go bad. They look into the horizon of the sea, where their enemies will appear. Shin reports that there is an unknown object in the distance that weighs over 2 million tons. He also reports that the satellites can't see it, nor can the radars detect it. He deduces that the only strategy they have is to bring as much fighting power as they can before the 2 million tons reach their shore. Alex is in fear, wondering what is about to come. Duro believes that 2 carrier fleets must be coming. He also deduces that their invaders must be from the country of Bicania. The usually invisible barrier around their country of Vigilia suddenly becomes visible with the yellow light of an explosion. Multiple battleships breach the barrier. The Vigilia Awakened One sees the flag of Bicania on the ships. Duro asks someone if they can use the weapon known as Heaven's Tear to destroy the ships, but the operators of the weapon say that Heaven's Tear has a 31% chance of being intercepted by their aircraft and missiles. The flagship is getting near the shore. Some fighters on the ship are worried about the upcoming battle. Their leader, Mash, makes a speech about how they have the most elite fleet and strongest awakening in the Chain Islands. He declares that they will die before accepting defeat. The aircraft of the Bicania forces fire their electronic cannons, but a giant wall made of ice covers the shore, blocking the attack. The distance of the ice wall is so near to the jets that they crash into it. It turns out that the ice wall was the work of Shin and Alex's efforts. Seeing them stop their forces makes Alex confident that they can beat them. Braun, one of the fighters of the Bicania forces, is insulted that they dared to fight back. He grabs the giant metal pillar of the ship and then throws it at the ice wall, which causes it to break. Alex is about to make an attack, but Shin tells him to step back while he makes his. The master uses his ice ability to freeze the sea. It traps all the ships in place. Mash tells his enemies that this is not enough to stop them. Duro calls the operators to activate Heaven's Tear. The black clouds suddenly open up. Mash looks up and is shocked to see the bright light piercing the sky. The beam of light rains down, destroying the ships. The brightness of the explosion lights up the night. Alex's smile fades to worry as they see that many strong fighters survived and are coming to them. In the icy sea, there are countless. Zoni asks the technologically advanced helmet-wearing Chim about his estimation of both sides' fighting power. Chim estimates that the Chained Islands army has 1 guy, 8 S ranks, 197 A ranks, and 412 B ranks, while they, the Vigilia country, have 1 guy, 5 S ranks, 26 A ranks, and 89 B ranks. He then counts Alex as 1 C rank. This insults Alex, who asks what is so wrong about being a C rank. He declares that he is a mage too and charges at the countless enemies. He is about to summon a spell with his wand, confident that he can defeat any ranks. He declares that he will kill at least several Chained Island Awakened ones. He activates multiple ice swords. Mash calls for Hang, the sumo wrestler, to take care of his attack. Alex is confident he can defeat the sumo wrestler, but Shin is frightened that his apprentice will definitely be beaten. Duro assures Shin that the boy will be fine. Meanwhile, Alex just got kicked by Hang and is sent flying backwards. He flew so far that he crashed into the rock wall behind even the Vigilia army. Alex is in shock and is unable to move. He wonders if his enemy was an A or S rank. Duro tells him that he was merely a B rank and that the enemies are testing the waters first with B ranks. Hang brags about his strength, only to realize that his right leg is already gone. Duro reveals that he put some poison on Alex's clothing, knowing that he would do something stupid. Hang is in agony as he holds on to his injury. Others try to assist him, but their limbs get vaporized the moment they touch the wound. Meanwhile, Alex's spirit is already broken, and he is crying about how he wants to go home. Duro mocks Mash by pulling out the antidote bottle when he knows that the people affected by the poison have already vaporized to nothing. Mash tells the Vigilia fighters about how their intelligence informed them that there are 3 Bicania traitors hiding in their country and that they intend to extract them, no matter how much they interfere. Duro makes fun of him by telling him that he already eliminated the traitors. Mash replies that he is not joking and that they need to step aside. Duro recognizes that their electromagnetic cannons on their ship came from Bicania, and that their Bicania symbol can also be seen underneath the paint job. Duro asks if they are really this eager to die for Bicania. Mash and his men are silent since they are unable to answer. Duro offers them to ally with Vigilia and offers them to be treated like friends and equals. Duro sweetens the deal by promising Mash the position of vice leader. Mash replies that he has no time for his nonsense, and that they will enter their borders no matter what to retrieve their traitors. Mash orders 20 of his warriors to come forward. Zoni asks Duro if they can draw things out a little longer so their reinforcements can come, but Duro tells her that there is no point in doing that. Duro explains to Zoni that everybody who can turn the tide to their battle is already in the field, and that anyone who would be coming to help them would be under S rank and wouldn't be of help. He is also wary that the Chained Island army might even have something up its sleeves that would make their reinforcements even more pointless. Duro devises the plan that he take down Mash and the 8 S ranks, while she and the others handle the rest. Zoni asks if he can even fight 9 S ranks alone. He replies that his abilities should not be underestimated. He reminds Zoni that he once fought Vigilia's strongest and won, and even beat Zoni, too. Zoni complains that he only won because he tricked her into drinking laxatives. Meanwhile, the 20 men Mash summoned are eating a marble-sized glowing ball. They are then ordered to charge at the same time. Zoni and the other awakened ones get ready for their charge. Duro wonders if the enemies are sending soldiers as cannon fodder to test them first. They see that the 20 charging men have red glowing eyes and red skin as they run. It makes Shin realize that they swallowed the fragment of jade. He tells the others not to charge at the 20. Shin instead makes a thick wall of ice the size of a castle fort, which separates them from their enemies. The effort of maintaining the wall tires the old man, so Shin asks Alex to bring him his heart medicine. Alex is still at the rock wall, unable to move. Fang instead runs toward Alex and gets the medicine from him. Shin thinks the wall will not hold them back for long since the fragment of jade enhances their body's energy so that they have overwhelming power. Duro warns everyone that what is coming for them is the equivalent of 20 heaven's tears and asks that anyone with defensive magic come help. Meanwhile, Shin is on his knees because he is getting so tired from maintaining the wall. He has countless heart medicines in his palms and then swallows them all at once. He thanks Fang for getting them to him. Shin makes his ice wall harder by crystallizing it. Others awakened, fortifying the ice wall with added magic of their own. Meanwhile, one of the 20 soldiers has arrived at the wall from the other side. He grabs the wall and then screams. He explodes like a bomb, damaging the wall to the point that it will take only another hit from one of the 19 left to pierce through it. Zoni worries that they will be destroyed if the 19 attack all at once. She jumps high over the wall to fight the human bombs from the other side. He dives towards the 19 men and beats them up all by himself. She uppercuts one of them, sending him high above the sky, where he glows. A second later, the man in the sky explodes. Mash orders 4 of the human bombs to stay with Zoni, while the others head to the wall to continue to weaken it. The 4 human bombs tackle Zoni, while the others head to the wall. Zoni grabs the 4, hanging on to her, and spins over and over until she throws them all up to the sky. They explode in different parts of the battlefield. Meanwhile, Shiba, the S-rank Vigilia bare-hand fighter, is throwing multiple Chained Island fighters with his left artificial hand to the sky. He waits for them to land. They die as they fall to the icy ground. He is proud that he has the talent to send even flying opponents into a state of consciousness by simply throwing them 10,000 meters into the air. Meanwhile, Duro spills poison on multiple enemies. All who get exposed to his poison turn to bones. Duro is perplexed why the enemies are doing it. They're all invading their borders when they know they stand no chance against the other fighters of the country, even if they win the battle here at the Great Wall. No matter how he thinks about it, the cost of their invasion is higher than their reward. He orders Chim to stay back so that he can keep count of the number of players in the field. He then orders everyone to kill all the invaders. A Chained Island fighter approaches Duro, asking if he is a Poison S-rank user like him. He reveals his sword, which he calls his Poison Sprout sword. He tries to slash at Duro, but a skeleton of a giant serpent appears to block his blade. It is revealed that the undead serpent was summoned by Fan. He believes he needs to buy Duro time so that he can come up with a plan to win the battle. Meanwhile, Mash is elsewhere on the battlefield, firing flame swords at Zoni. Zoni is barely bruised, but he gets serious, knowing Mash can kill her if she is not careful. She gets close to Mash in an instant, which surprises him. He makes a magic barrier that blocks Zoni's fist. Zoni is putting so much pressure on him that he sees her as a monster. Zoni throws a barrage of punches at him, but none of them can enter his shield despite him getting forced backwards. Mash is enjoying the thrill of a strong opponent. Zoni tells Duro to stop standing around and fight too. Duro yells at her to shut up so he can think. As Zoni evades Mash's flame swords, she reminds Duro that he promised to take down the S-ranks himself. Duro is in such deep thought about how he does not know what their enemy's goal is, nor how they can win the battle, that he can't do anything else. Just as Tojo, the lightning user, tries to kick him, Duro gets an epiphany. He blocks the kick and then gets behind Tojo. He whispers to him that he now knows what their goal is. This makes Tojo nervous, so he runs away from him. Duro smiles as he is proud that he just fooled the guy. Tojo meets up with Mash. He reports to his leader that Duro has figured out their secret. Mash flies towards Duro immediately while also ordering all S ranks to prioritize killing Duro. He declares that it should be their top priority. All the S ranks hurry to get to Duro. Zoni sees how all the S ranks are gathering, and she wonders what Duro has up his sleeve. Meanwhile, many strong fighters gather towards her too, annoying her so that she can't take a break. Shin is fighting one of the S-rank fighters, Ambei, but he quickly retreats as he is also going towards Duro. Shin blocks his path with a cage of swirling ice. Ambei realizes that he can't get out. Shin swears that he will eliminate at least one S-rank so Duro can have a lighter load. Braun suddenly punches Shin's head off from behind. Braun and Ambei then leave the corpse of the old man. Alex sees his old master die from the rock wall where he still is. He is so angered by this that he tries to get up, only to stumble. He swears with tears in his eyes that he will kill all of the chained island fighters. Meanwhile, one S-rank has trapped Duro's foot on the ground with magic. The poison user is an S-ranker and then summons poisonous tentacles to attack Duro. Duro counters with a poison barrier. Meanwhile, another S-ranker attacks with a huge burst of flame. Despite this, Duro's barrier holds. The barrier also melts the ice beneath him, giving Duro an escape underground. However, one of the S-ranks, Tetsu, is already underground to meet him there. An explosion occurs underground. The others wait as the smoke clears. They see something get thrown. They look closely to see that it is the head of Tetsu. Duro gets out of the smoke, dragging Tetsu's body with him. Mash orders the remaining S-ranks to attack Duro all at once. He then orders 2 other S-ranks to stay back with him so they can observe the battle and look for an opening. 5 S-ranks surround Duro. Ambei asks the other S-rank, Kyo, to help him pin Duro down. Kyo activates a spell that opens a portal under Duro, so Duro jumps away. Ambei then summons a barrier of light above Duro, which pushes him back to the portal. Duro, I admit the fighting of several S-ranks is hard. He can see his feet shrinking into the portal. Tojo then charges at him with a kick, confident that he can no longer throw poison with his hands full. As he gets near, poison fluid spurts out of Duro's chest. Tojo kicks the poison away, but a drop still touches his cheek. It leads to his face turning to nothing but a skeleton and dying. Mash uses his all-seeing eye to investigate Duro's ability. Meanwhile, Duro surrounds himself with poisonous fog. The S-rank back away from him to not get caught up in the fog. Kyo is so far away from the other S-ranks that Duro ambushes him from behind and snaps his neck. Another S-rank, a girl with a sword, charges at Duro. She throws a barrage of sword slashes at him, but he evades them all. Meanwhile, the other S-ranks surround Duro again. The poison man is getting frustrated that he worked so hard, only for 6 of them to still be alive. Mash then tells his S-rank men that his eyes tell him that Duro has no talent for poison and that he only uses seals that summon poison tattooed all over his body. He magically passed along to his men all the locations of Duro's seals. Now that they know his trick, they think he is now easier to deal with. Duro laughs at them and compares them to a fly that thinks it can break a boulder just because it saw a single crack. He attacks the girl with the sword. Just as he spits poison at her, the girl produces a magic barrier that shields her from it. The S-ranker enemy with the poison sprout sword surrounds Duro with a wall of poison. Duro sees that his poison is eating away at his skin, but it is slow acting. Duro jumps away from the poison cage without fear, as he reveals that he has an antidote for the poison. Just as Duro is about to strike at one of the S-ranks, Mash interferes and chops him away. He throws poison at Mash, but he blocks it with his magic barrier. Before he can rest, Braun is already in front of him and is about to punch him. Duro puts poison on his own face, but Braun is still able to punch him directly in the face without harm. Mash commends Duro for being able to fight with the 9 greatest fighters of the Chained Islands. Duro's teeth are now broken, yet he is still smiling since he has his enemies right where he wants them. As the S-ranks continue their attacks, Duro still tells himself to be patient until the last minute, so that he can kill 2 more S-ranks before he gets killed himself. The S-ranks are so cramped together while they attack Duro that they are getting in each other's way. Mash warns his men that Duro is using the fact that the space is getting cramped as they attack all at once. He orders some to attack from the front, while others from the rear. They switch formation. Duro notices and sees this as the perfect opportunity to spring his trap. Duro throws more poison, but Braun blocks him with his tough armor. Fang asks Alex how Duro eliminated 2 S-ranks at once. Alex answers that he showed his talent. Duro is shown to now be in golden armor, and with a sword as he laughs about how he is only activating his talent now. As Duro eliminates Braun and another S-rank, Alex tells Fang about how no one could have guessed that Duro was a fighting class awakened one.